Welcome to the Last Mile Delivery Podcast, your front row seat to the technological advancements shaping the future of last mile logistics. This podcast includes recordings from our Last Mile Delivery meetup, offering you exclusive insights and discussions about the cutting edge of the final mile in logistics. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Better Mile newsletter. The link is in our bio.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Last Mile Delivery Meetup. How are you feeling tonight? Wow. I mean, for you guys joining online, welcome, but especially for you here on site, welcome as well. It's a packed space here at Better Mile, roughly 120, 130 people. Welcome so much for coming here. Welcome for establishing this community. And please give yourself a hand. Can you read it? It's number 10. What do we learn from Last Mile Delivery Meetup number 10? I mean, if it's one or two times, you can say it's a fling. If it's a little bit more, you can say it's an affair. But 10 is more a long-term relationship, isn't it? So this is getting serious, right? 10 times. And I want to thank you all for establishing this community with us. I well remember Last Mile Delivery Meetup number 9. Maybe you do too. May 2025, we had as topic navigation, the urban delivery experience. We had Letha, product owner from Better Mile, talking about the navigation mode in the Better Mile app. We had Dennis Colmer from Uber, who talked about establishing, with the help of Uber, a courier and express service point-to-point in urban areas, and also delivering parcels. And Inga Töller from Ono, a manufacturer company of the Ono cargo bikes, and their experience. So I think we learned a lot. That was really exciting. And hey, 10 times, we passed the 1,000 members in our community, and a lot of you guys are here on site today. A lot of people are joining online. This really established into a community, and I want to thank you all for this. Please give you and all the other joiners of this big community. So, as with all good communities and families, we welcome our new members. From delivery companies, we have as new joiners Fan Courier, Nova Post, Aramex, Landmark Global. Please give them an applause. From the postal operators, we have as new joiners from Sri Lanka, Unpost, and from Hungary, Magyar Posta. So give them an applause as well. From the startup and growth company environment, Gettier and Stuart. And yes, please. On the solution provider, 3LP, Parcel Pending, Blockit, eCourier, also those are our partners in crime here. And we have especially, I want to welcome the growing community of retailers, brands, and e-commerce platforms. And this basically is the part of the community that has grown tremendously over the last year. We see this gaining interest of retailers in parcel logistics. They more and more accept it as part of their value chain to better understand what's happening in the last mile. So we have the TikTok shop over today, Avato Crocs. I actually don't wear one today, but I have them as well. We have Kaufland, Wortmann, Allegro, Blackman, and Bechtle. And a lot of you guys are here on site. Give yourself a big applause. So that's what we are. We're a community that's contributing to an exchange of hands-on experience and exciting tech insights in last mile delivery. Let's not forget, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to partner. We don't have any other choice, right? We don't want to be overtaken by big tech. So we need to cooperate. We need to partner. We need to exchange. We are your host tonight, Better Mile. Just for those who are here for the first time, we're a community of roughly 100 thinkers and makers from all over the world, and we work in providing our services in more than 20 countries. And what we actually do, our mission is to transform the last mile logistics, to boost productivity and the user experience at the same time. How do we do this? We provide an enterprise software as a service product suite. So we're not a parcel carrier ourselves. We rather provide components as APIs, SDKs, web front ends, etc., to support delivery companies on their last mile processes, which is better places, processing address data, geocoding address data with a very high accuracy. Better route, which actually takes a delivery route, puts the stops in an optimized sequence, and dynamically optimizes it through the day, and navigates the driver with a turn-by-turn navigation. So the kind of Google Maps for delivery drivers. Better tracking, which is on the consignee side, so the parcel receivers, to follow up where is their parcel in real time, and back office, which is used by depot managers and other depot personnel to follow up the status of this fleet, to come up, identify any problems, or do performance analysis. That's actually what we do, and that was the marketing part of this event today. Now I'm changing into content. I may sound like my own uni professor when I say we conducted a long-term study, but it's true. We introduced a study in 2023, last mile delivery experience study, and now did it actually the third time in a row. And now we can really monitor the changes in the industry, and that's some data that I brought to you as an intro today. So when we ask now, talking about real-time tracking, if consignees expect to be real-time tracking available with every shipment, 6% more than the previous year say they want it. We now reached 96%. So almost everyone, every consignee expects a real-time tracking, an Uber-alike experience when receiving parcels. Now you would raise the question, and who is actually using it? That's also the numbers that we measured here. So when you ask in the service if they've used it over the last 3 months, you see the increase over the last years, a drastic increase. So almost 90% of the consignees have used real-time tracking in the last 3 months. It's a tremendous change. You could say it's non-negotiable. It's not a nice to have. It's a baseline expectation that happens today. And let's not forget, it's not coming from parcel delivery companies, this need. The need was created by mobility companies, by ride-sharing, ride-hailing, by Uber and Co., by food delivery like Wolt or Uber Eats. This is where the expectations come from, and consignees transport it to the actual parcel delivery. And when we ask deeper, we can also follow up what is really important for the consignees. Yes, that has been pretty much the same over the last 3 years, that they expect ETA, so estimated time of deliveries as a standard, and they also want to see the number of remaining stops to strengthen their confidence. But what we see is that they more and more expect very specific real-time information. So just to present an hour or 30 minutes of a bound range is not enough. They expect to know the final minutes before delivery, so really to get the Uber-alike experience. And of course, they want to see a moving vehicle in live. They want to see it on their phone, then look out of the window and see it coming across the street. And the most drastic change that we saw in the last year is that it's not only transparency, it's also increasingly about flexibility. So they want to act in the real-time tracking and redirect their parcel, provide a drop-off allowance, or redirect to a locker or redirect to an out-of-home point like a parcel shop. So this is increasing demands. They want to know where the parcel is, and when they are not ready to accept it, in the last minute, they want to redirect it to another point. So that's really interesting to see, and I'm really curious about how the survey in the next year will turn out if this trend is going to strengthen, right? We also asked some questions about out-of-home. We had it also as a meetup topic 2 meetups ago, so it's a big thing. It's a highly strategic topic for delivery companies, but it has not finally arrived, at least in Central Europe, with consignees yet. Lockers and parcel shops are not the first point of choice yet, and we are interested in the adoption barriers. What is it? Yes, lockers are too far away, they are full, have low capacity, the whole thing is too complicated. That's the factors that we knew already. But what really surprised me is that they would like to use it, but they just can't find it, right? And probably you have the same observation. You're in an online shop, you even want to have it in a locker or in a parcel shop, but you cannot select it. You have to find your own workarounds how to actually get it to the locker that you want, because the widget integration in the e-commerce shops is kind of complicated, and that really hinders the actual adoption. And another challenge is they just don't know several days in advance when they actually order the product. The consignees want to choose parcel shops or lockers or drop-off allowances in the very last minute so they can act on it. So there needs to be this connect with real-time tracking, which is a big opportunity because there's a lot of reach. We'll hear about this later today. So that's just some numbers that I wanted to share with you as an intro. If you want to understand more and understand the development over the last 3 years, please feel free to download the update or the actual version of our last mile delivery experience study. You can find it at this QR code or on bettermile.com. I'm happy to provide this for free to everyone. All right. So what we see, not only in this study, but generally, that the requirements, the demands, the expectations from consignee are constantly rising. So of course, we have to look into every technology that we can find to fulfill it. And obviously, AI plays an increasing role with fulfilling these experiences. And this will be our topic for today's session. I have 4 fantastic speakers that I'm really glad to have over for today. Brody Buhler is CEO at the Azure Group and has over 20 years of experience and also did a lot of research in his company about the AI topic. So we're really excited to have him over today. He will be connected remotely. We have Ravi Kiran here on site. He is a digital transformation strategist at Parcel, and we're really lucky to have him here and hear from the forefront of AI adoption at Parcel. And we'll then have Adrian Wilhelm. He's a product owner at the tracking pro. And this is our format. Most of you guys will know it already. Each of the 4 speakers will have 10 minutes or so for their keynote. We'll have then a short Q&A. I'll usually start with a question on site here. So we'll pass around the microphone. And then also you guys online, please feel free to use the chat fields wherever you're following us, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. This question you put into the comment fields will end up at my tablet here, and I will read it out to the crowd. After the 4th speaker, we'll then have a little panel here, a couple of minutes to try to sum up the topic together with you guys before we start our on-site networking session. All right. Last but not least, please sign up for the Better Mile newsletter that you don't miss the next Last Mile Delivery meetup, and feel free to follow us on LinkedIn for more industry news. And now I'm really curious, please fire up the algorithms and get rolling. We have Brody Buhler over from Escher Group. Brody, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Handing over to you.
All right. Excellent. Well, it's great to be here with you. Thanks for inviting me. And I love the setup that you gave there, kind of some of the data of how we're seeing the industry evolve. What I brought today is some research that we've done around across two areas. The first is annual research that we do every year called the Future of Post. We just released the latest version of that last week. There'll be a QR code at the end if you're interested in getting the full research there. And then the second is data that we pulled from an AI platform that we've established, that we've loaded the audited financial statements for something like 40, 45 logistics companies, and are looking now at what's happening across the industry. What we found is that tool is better at finding trends and patterns in the data than we've been able to. And so a lot of what you see around profitable versus unprofitable organizations comes from that tool. So with that, let's dive right in. Just a brief, so you understand what Escher is. Escher provides solutions primarily for postal organizations, for retail, delivery, middle to last mile solutions, and then some things in automation enhancement and OCR. So that gives you some idea of where I'm coming from and what we do. I've been in the industry for 28 years now. Prior to this role, I ran Accenture's post and parcel practice for about 10 years. So I've been in the industry for a long time. As you look at kind of on the rider stats that you kind of can get anywhere as far as what's happening with artificial intelligence, on the left, you see what's come from our Future of the Post research. When we asked the question of what's going to have the greatest impact, a third more this year pointed to artificial intelligence and the growing importance, and it comes in right behind what's happening with e-commerce and the changes there and cross-border shipping. And you're all probably very familiar with some of the challenges with cross-border. But what's I think was most fascinating is as we dove into the data a little bit more, the profitable posts, those organizations that are making money, were twice as likely to be focused on using data and analytics to drive their business. And it really is becoming that stark. To drive profitability in this industry, you've got to start to use the data in different ways, and artificial intelligence is going to empower that. But there's a lot to still figure out around that. Just quickly, this has nothing to do with the industry per se, but some of what you're seeing in some of the tools, I've just given 3 examples here of the AI tools that are evolving quite quickly and are going to change fundamentally how somebody like me does their day-to-day work. So Sketch is a virtual assistant. You get the free version that'll schedule meetings for you. You can get the paid version that has a persona and they feel like they're interacting with a real person. Try these out. I'd say just go experiment with them. You can do it for free, but that concept of finding an opening on your calendar or finding an opening that's convenient for multiple calendars, this automates all of that. The idea of having a person that kind of runs your scheduling is a thing of the past, or will soon be. Fixer.ai is a tool that you can use to manage your inbox. It will take every email that you receive and write a response for that email. Learns from what you've done previously. It gives you the opportunity to edit that email, but it takes the work of going through your inbox in the morning, for example. Escher is a global company, so 24/7 we're getting email in. It takes all that work and starts to propose answers, right? The responses. Never miss an email again because it figures it out for you and comes back with the proposed response. Some of those it can't do, right? It needs thinking and real input, but a lot of that email, the response, it proposes exactly what you'd like to see. And then this is what the third one here. I'd invite you to all go try it. Replit builds apps. It's a automated app building solution. just go open it up and try the free version. Type in something innocuous, like build me an app to sell used clothing um, or things from around my house. And it'll, in real time, build that app in front of you. If you had more time, I'd open it up and show you, but it'll build that app with all the placeholders in front of you, as well as a plan that then to turn it into a production system. So it'll have a step in there that says, load your inventory list in and price list, load your FAQs, and it will have it built and a plan to finish it out in production in a matter of 5 minutes. That's the sort of transformation that we're seeing in some of these generative AI tools that's coming pretty quickly. But the logistics companies are struggling to get the full value of this. You see here, 84% have no formal artificial intelligence program and are wondering what to do to really get into this area. I think part of the challenge with logistics organizations in particular is that they're too focused on the solutions that are native to the industry, right? What does better route optimization look like, or what does better transportation management, those sorts of things. And those are still evolving technologies that aren't as mature as some of these other areas. The real power in artificial intelligence right now is found in some of these commonly used across every industry, call center, HR, IT, those sorts of areas. And so if you're looking at where to start with AI, I think it can be a little bit baffling for some organizations. Start there. Start with those tried and true and tested solutions and get a real formal program going, because there's just too little adoption right now in the industry. When we asked the question of what gets in the way or makes it challenging to implement artificial intelligence in the logistics industry, integration is right at the top, and then the lack of skill is right next to it. And those are the challenges across every organization. There's nothing special about logistics organizations in these two challenges in particular. One of the reasons that the optimization algorithms that are specific to the logistics are still maturing and aren't quite as powerful or ready as they should be is because there's still a lack of data and a lot of messy data out there. So that integration and getting the data cleansing and quality right is key to these models that are driven off of large amounts of data. New models are coming that will require less data and deliver better results with less data. Those will be better suited for the optimization sorts of capabilities around artificial intelligence. But again, there's plenty out there with call center and HR and IT and some of these back office functions. It's time to get started with those and get the integration and people side of it right. When we asked the question about value creation, again, we got a pretty common answer with 42% saying they're uncertain that they're actually creating value, and a very small percentage, you see it there, the 9% that feel like they're getting material value. This reminds me of a story I heard of a few months ago around the invention of nitroglycerin. If you think about it, does anybody in the room know who invented nitroglycerin? If I was there, we could have some fun with this, but I'm guessing that you probably don't. It was a guy named Antonio Cabero, and he invented nitroglycerin and found it very problematic and didn't make any money off of it. Nitroglycerin was 10 times more powerful than anything they had at the current time. But nitroglycerin was incredibly unstable. It would blow up if it got too cold. It would blow up if it got too hot. It would blow up if you let it sit on the table for too long. It was just unusable. The real money was made by Alfred Nobel, who invented dynamite. Dynamite was the combination of nitroglycerin and clay, essentially. But dynamite could be used for real business value. We've got a lot of nitroglycerin in the industry right now, powerful tools that nobody really knows how to use and aren't producing value. the pivot needs to come to where real value can be created. What's the dynamite that really makes a difference as you use artificial intelligence? And what you see here is we're still struggling to find that. We're still looking for the dynamite in this industry. I want to end with just a couple of ideas where this could be incredibly powerful. The first is something around what could be done with marketing and generating a marketing platform. What you see on the right is a solution that USPS has, where you get an email every day. 70 million users of this tool, and they open it. 70% of them open it daily. Massive opportunity to use the data that's coming into that with the artificial intelligence tools to monetize this new platform. And as you think about the interactions that you're having on your tracking platforms, for example, or interactions with consumers, and the ability to understand better and then give them a solution. A simple example in the logistics area around something like this would be anticipatory shipping, right? Where you remember the stats around redirection and those sorts of things. What if that was thought out for me? So I get a text or a WhatsApp or an email that says, "Hey, Brody, your iPad's arriving today. Looks like it's raining. Why don't we take it to the locker instead of to your doorstep?" And for me, it's locker because that's the redirection I would have done. But for my neighbor, maybe it's why don't we put it in the safe place? And for my sister, perhaps it's why don't we leave it with the neighbor? Because that's what they would have done. As AI learns your behaviors, there's an opportunity to significantly improve the interaction with the consumer. This last example, this is something that's out there now. Wellspring is Amazon. Some of you probably are familiar with it, but what they've done with Wellspring is you see the list of data sources there. The problem they're trying to solve with Wellspring is, what does the last meter look like? How do I really optimize that? How do I tell the driver where to park? How do I tell them which door to go in for fastest delivery to the right apartment set? As they look to take all these data sources and really optimize that, they've got a much faster opportunity there at the last meter to really make that very efficient and fast. This last slide just looks at kind of where we're at from a mature point across the spectrum. What you can see is control towers and demand forecasting, those sorts of things are in the more mature things there at the bottom. Drones and level 4 autonomous and Gen AI and network design are still emerging. A lot more to come as we look at AI in the logistics space. But again, it's really about finding those things that will create the most value, finding the dynamite in this industry. With that, as I said, there's the QR code. If you're interested in getting the future posts, subscribing to that, you can get that going forward. And I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, Brody. Any questions here from on-site? Nothing? So I'll read out a remote question from a remote joiner, Brody. They ask, Tom asks, the cost of implementation is cited as okay, now my tablet turned off, as the third or fourth most common reason AI projects fail. Is this preliminary because organizations struggle to define clear ROI and build strong business cases, or is it that AI often fails to deliver the expected savings in the practice? So it's about cost explosion with AI.
Yeah, so you probably saw this, the research from, I think it was MIT a couple weeks ago, where they found that 95% of AI programs fail to reach production and therefore are failing to achieve the value. There's a couple of combinations, and cost is an element in there, but what we're really seeing gets in the way are having the right skill sets with the right business problem, with the right data that allow you to apply AI in the right way. And so cost is an element, but as I think it was Tom was the person who asked the question, as he hints at, return on investment is the real challenge. And and that's a problem everywhere right now with artificial intelligence. A lot of experimentation, a lot of attempts, not a lot of actual value being created.
I heard from your presentation, one of the challenges is also that there is a lot to experiment in the kind of, let's say, perisphere, so what is around the parcel logistics, but less in the core. I mean, you mentioned last meter, that's definitely in the core, but there is so much, I mean, the real cost drivers in the last mile, the real cost drivers in the line haul, etc. So the core of logistics companies. What trends do you see here with application of AI?
So the biggest cost sits in last mile, right? 60% of the cost of any delivery sits in the last mile, at least. And so that will be the area where you'll see the best cost synergies going forward. Again, it's a data clean and quantity of data is really what's getting in the way of really driving solutions there. And so, if you have to pick and you're looking at what's going to get you the ROI, eliminating 70% of your call center volume, that's tried and true and tested, and those solutions exist and are out there ready to be productionalized. The last mile, right? The labor in delivery and the ability to remove some or even a lot of that is going to come as some of these new solutions mature, and we'll eventually get to some of the autonomous stuff. But even some of the basics, right, of the optimizers need more and better data to really be able to do what they're built to do.
Okay, thanks, Brody. Any questions here from on site for Brody? Yes.
So my question would be regarding the fact that you basically said a lot of these AI use cases are still in a premature phase, and of course there are a couple of like safe choices to where companies can already invest in. But what would you argue that companies should pioneer in kind of trying to build new AI cases, or should they wait until kind of the learning curve has went down, the cost has went down, and just, for example, mid-sized companies, should they heavily invest at this stage, or rather wait until it's a more kind of off-the-shelf use case?
Yeah, I would always say invest now, right? Especially as you look at the arms race that we're seeing emerge among carriers and the solution providers to the carriers. But the investment needs to be smart investment that's founded by real value creation and business cases that are easily to articulate and measure. And so it's less about waiting and more about being smart about how you proceed in investing as these solutions mature.
Any other questions here from on site? Maybe last question, Brody, for asking for a short answer because we're running out of time, but I think really interesting. If we talk about the core of delivery companies, I mean, I understand another HR tool or customer care tool to automatically reply to support requests, etc. This is something that is available off the shelf. None of the delivery companies will probably develop this on their own, right? And this is why it can be relatively easy applied. But when we talk about the core of delivery companies, their business intelligence, their operations, build or buy?
Build. There's no buy out there yet. There might emerge, but for right now, it's build. It's really the only option.
Okay. I mean, I work for Bettermal. I have a different opinion, but that's obviously for asking. But that's good. Okay, thanks, Brody. Please, warm applause for Brody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Brody, I'll see you at the panel after the last presentation, so we can kind of draw the summary for tonight. And now I'm asking Ravi over, and yeah, happy to have you here.
Hi everyone, I think it's a great connection for me with where Brody left us. I think it's a right way for me to come into what we are talking about here. So I'm here to talk about visual intelligence, and I'm Ravi from PostNord. We are the Nordics postal operator, mainly working in all the 4 countries of Scandinavia. Okay, I'll just pick up the... Yes, thank you. So I think one of the key enablers that I'm going to talk about is visual intelligence, is mainly the pillar in AI using computer vision. And the reason why we are doing it is mainly that it's actually allowing us to actually generate data in a more frictionless way, where we actually make people avoid or skip steps which are not critical, or also we are making it more consistent, which I mean is it doesn't depend upon who's working in a shift, are we asking the right people to do it, and also a capability for us to be ready for the future, which is extensible. So I think to the point that Brody just mentioned, there are multiple problems that he highlighted, which is slow adoption. Another part is data availability and the part of value creation. And to enable this, we within PostNord have created an approach of how we want to target it. The first being that we want AI to not just serve a particular user group or a function. We want to serve it at all levels of our organization, whether it's people on the floor who do it for operational needs, whether it's people who do it for tactical decision making, or people who are responsible for strategic decisions. It should serve all the 3 layers, not just any particular user group. And even the journey of value creation, we have kind of defined a process of how it should generate value for us to evaluate the right return on investment, business case, or value it can create. So the way we started doing it is that the first thing that we wanted to show with business is, 1, AI could start generating the data that you feel is missing. So as I said, today, the main goal of our AI use cases is to start generating data and then bring visibility, which is the biggest challenges we face in operations. And the goal for tomorrow that what we see is, with this data, we should help our both operational and tactical teams to maintain and operate in a much efficient way, which in a way is further extending us to manage the efficiencies we meet or can get to sustain. And the last part of our value chain is also the growth strategy, that the AI should enable us to grow from where we are. It should not just allow us to sustain or maintain, but also give us opportunity to grow in the place where we want to be. So this is our framework, and the main goal of us is to generate operational excellence, not just taking out cost or anything. It's about bringing operational excellence to the level that makes us more beneficial in running operations. And the key components, if I take example of visual intelligence, as I said, we have a cycle and it repeats itself with every use case you find. The first part, as I said, is describing the operations, which is giving us live visibility of everything that's happening. And the second part is automating what we can. So anything which doesn't need critical thinking, anything which can be automated, we automate. And the last part of the AI would be to also predict things which can be avoided, like things which are not going as expected, anomalies, try to predict and help them know in advance. So this is a kind of a cycle which repeats with the use cases and how we try to bring AI into our operations. So in the interest of this event being mainly targeted towards last mile, I've tried to concentrate on last mile, but we have these use cases across every function. As Simon said, we go with operations, mid-mile, last mile, first mile, all the places, but here I'm giving examples of the last mile. So the way we want to use visual intelligence or camera technology is to enable us start gathering data. I know there are a lot of players like Bettermile and others who enable us with respect to what happens on the roads with the last mile. We wanted to go inside into the core operations to say what we could generate. Like for example, can we all help our production to understand when are we ready to start distributing? When are the cages ready, or when are the pallets ready for us to move it to the next phase, which is towards distribution? So we are using AI to predict how much of the cages are full, which cages are ready to be moved to the distribution area. And number 2 is also understanding our holding areas, because our operations are working in shifts. So we have a production shift, we have a handling shift, and a distribution shift. So we are also making sure we use AI to help our transitions or handshakes go much more efficient. So in this case, in holding, now we are able to create vision-based technologies which help us see, okay, which positions have cages ready for started loading into the trailer or into the van, which positions have been cleared out. So we know how much workforce we would need to actually make sure the production goes smoothly. So in that, we are doing with holding. In the same way, van loading. So today, if I talk to any logistical operators saying, what is your time for loading of a truck or a van? Some might say it takes us 40 minutes, some might say 20 minutes, some might take 1 hour. It's based on what you perceive, and it's just experience driven, and there's no hard facts. Now what we are doing is generate data automatically. So we are able to now automate the measurement of our truck van loading. So we can say, okay, for this route, it might take us 20 minutes. For another route, it might take us 40 minutes. Another route might take us 1 hour. So we're able to automate it in a much more streamlined way. So it's more consistent, and it's not just based on someone's experience or his observations for a day, but something which is measured across all the time. In the same way, the last part is also how do we start measuring our assets? So as you have been talking about last mile, our fleet is one of the biggest asset. We want to also see how do we automate data capture about our asset, which is not about routes, stop points, or delivery points, but about how is the asset? Is it ready to use? Does it have damages which can make it not roadworthy? So how do we automate that? Because today it's a separate function where we expect people to take these images or report damages or send it to workstations or repair workshops. So we are trying to automate this part. And just in the interest of today's meeting, I took one use case of this asset utilization of how we are using vision technology to support this automation. So as I said, we had a goal that can we automate this part of vehicles inspection, where we wanted to use computer vision, which is clearly a technology which is used in rental cars and other places. It's not new. We wanted to see, can this help our business? So our goal was to automate external damage inspection, which is to identify a damage, classify the damage, and also help us take the decision makings. And for this pilot, as everyone is saying, how do we validate the business value of an AI use case? So we defined 2 types of goals. One is short-term goal and a long-term goal. The short-term goal was, can it help us reduce our maintenance costs in terms of when do we send the vehicles to the maintenance, when is the right time to send it, when we can avoid it, and also help make right images of these claims so we can take it to the insurance when it's appropriate instead of paying with our own money. And number 2, also identify when damages happen and how do we kind of create a lineage. Okay, what is the average time for a vehicle to go to workshop? When do damages happen? And also appropriate repair work. And the biggest value we see was long-term. And that's the reason we did a pilot almost for a year, where the goal was to see when we bring this kind of intelligence, does it support change behavior of the drivers? Will they become more proactive? They start reporting issues or stop reducing the number of damages they cause, and also help us increase our vehicle utilization in terms of damages, the time they spend in manual reporting, and also the time they can spend on the road, not worrying about the time they need to spend coming back and reporting these damages, and also reduce our overall cost. So this is just an overview of how the solution works. So we have automated it in a frictionless way, as I said, which is one of our primary goal, where we use the security cameras at our entrance gates. And we started scanning for vehicles as they enter and exit. So it was not needing anyone to get on the vehicle, do any reporting. And what we did is we started classifying the damages. And the way we did this, as an example, the value, as I said, is first identifying when did a damage happen. So we had a clear view of how the system works. So we can see when did one damage happen, when did the second damage happen, when was it sent to the workshop, when was it fixed, when was it complete. So we have a complete lineage of understanding what happens after a damage has happened, how does your processes work. And number 2, we could also define the system to be intelligent enough to customize what we want to track. We could say, find scratches, or find missing parts, find tears. So we could classify them according to our own business logic. We didn't want a small dot to be detected as a major damage, or a small dent. We could classify it. And also, the system was also something we wanted to validate. Can it differentiate between an old and a new damage? So we gave the test to the system. Can you identify damage which comes the next day without fixed as an existing damage, but not as a new damage? So we have done all the tests to prove that, yes, the technology is there for us to use and can generate immediate business value. And also, as I said, it was also to support the functions to use. So we created a dashboard where the fleet manager had a report every day in the morning saying, okay, these were the vehicles which went today for outside or deliveries. These were the vehicles we inspected. These were the total damages found. and which are priority for them. So in that way, we can make his life much easier in terms of what he needs to act or respond to. And coming to the results, so we wanted to test two things. One was technology, and also, as I said, change management. From a technology side, we were able to prove that, yes, this technology works and is here to stay. We actually achieved 400% success rate. So we did a test of this, comparing the same period. So we didn't want someone to say, it's snowing outside, it's winter outside, that caused a slippage of our damage. So we took exactly the right period when it's appropriate to measure, and we measured that we had 400% higher success rate than a human reporting, because human always has a judgment call. AI is much more data driven. And number two, also the value of AI is 1:5. With respect to the cost we spent for this pilot versus the damage we were able to catch, it was 1:5. And from a behavior perspective, we have some very good results. So we saw that we had 20% reduction in damages of our vehicles, which is also saying that the drivers are becoming better in driving or being more careful. And also we had almost 60% cost reduction in our own internal vehicles, and almost on average 30% cost reduction are on different kinds of fleet, like short-term rentals, long-term, and per own cars. So we definitely saw that there is value in technology to be used with the right use cases and the right way of measuring it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. I think that was a perfect second presentation, because we heard from Brody let's say, the overall observation, and you dived right into application case. I really love the vehicle inspection. Any questions here from on-site about the vehicle inspection case or any other things from Ravi? Yeah, let's take yours first.
Hi, I'll go first. Just a quick one. On your last slide, you mentioned about driver behaviors. Did you see any evidence in relation to driver behavior types? Were there any patterns that were correlated with vehicle incidents, for instance?
So we have done initial data level assessment, but we did not do ground surveys. So that's something, as I said, it was not conclusive in terms of assessing or discussing with our drivers. But definitely the data speaks what it speaks. So we were able to observe that after we have introduced this system, there has been definitely an improvement in the way drivers have been driving, and the incidents getting less happening actually.
Mm-hmm. Dario?
I have a question. So I was interested in this visual assistance for the loading part. As far as understood, is more for the depot to monitor, let's say, how much time will it take probably for a certain driver to load their van. But do you instead offer something for the driver to help them maybe be faster? Is there any visual support maybe for drivers to be even faster in this process?
Yeah, as I said, the first step was data capturing for us to get a real-time visibility of what's happening on the floor. And definitely that helps our operations. And also one thing that you should be aware is we are not doing any performance management or identifying who the driver is. For us, that's not something we are looking for. We are only looking for saying what is the cost or time that is spent in a particular function. And in this function, if I take van loading, it's mainly to help us identify how much time happens is spent. So we could see opportunities of, is it something we should improve, or is it going as per the best practices, and we could skip that step. So it's nowhere related to performance management, but only to help us validate where we can improve ourselves.
Any other questions? Yeah, there we have another question.
So a use case that I saw the other day, which I thought was really interesting with this topic, was obscuring data that would be private, for example, in a doorway or in a situation where a package might be delivered. Do you have any examples that you've looked at of maintaining privacy with AI?
Definitely, I think that has been the whole premise with which we started computer vision, because with the cameras being everywhere, people are skeptical. So the first thing we do is what we call a privacy shield. Every data that we get is made sure that it's privacy shielded. That means there's no personal identifiable information, whether it's a person, whether it's a moving person or anything. The only information that is exposed is only the personal data, like the license plate of the vehicle, as an example. So we had made sure that everything we capture is having privacy at the edge. So what we get is a kind of processed image, which would help us secure that a person could be confident that there's no information of him being available for others to look at. Yeah.
I would now take a remote question. Leah has a question for you, Ravi. No, Andre, sorry, asking, what's the next major investment area for analytics and AI at PostNord? So where's your next silver bullet?
Yeah, I think we wouldn't say it's a silver bullet, but we think vision is one good area that we could investigate more and identify more use cases. And as I said, I think we are doing a lot across all the functions, whether it's trying to measure the fill rate of our trucks. What you're seeing here, examples in last mile, we had to do a lot in our own operations. So I think that's the biggest bet we are making with respect to investing in computer vision and seeing what value we can get. But definitely, I think there's a lot happening in AI also with the whole vision models and stuff. So there's not much we could achieve. Here, it's all our own trained models, but in the future, we don't have to train. We can just plug and play.
Thanks, Ravi. Please give Harvey a big applause. And thank you. We'll have a panel later so we can take more questions. Ravi, I really want to thank you because you brought up one very specific application that we can learn from, and another one that we can learn from is actually now from Adrian. Also bring a very specific application case of AI. Please give Adrian a warm applause.
Hi everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Thanks for having me, Simon. I'm not often in this office. Joke. I'm working here. Oops, I'm already too far ahead. So, welcome. My name is Adrian. I'm one of the product owners for the Better Tracking product, and I'm extremely happy to work with an extremely talented team on data-driven, user-driven tracking products. I think we had a really nice success story over the last 5 years, and today I will share a little bit on what we are doing and why. So so what I'm going to tackle today, and what Simon already mentioned in the introduction, is what makes a parcel tracking product a good product, and how are we able to create it, especially, of course, looking into AI and machine learning models. Also, we are actually not buying it, we are creating those machine learning models ourselves. So let's take a look. We also heard it before, what consumers really want when it comes to a tracking product is precise ETAs. It's maybe obvious, maybe not, but all the studies that we have done before, even before the study, we asked our users online what is important when it comes to a tracking product. They name a lot of things, but ETA always was number one. And in today's world, you can even have an ETA predicted in the checkout process, and also by now we are covering this. So you have this flow of user communication throughout the logistics process. So first indication of an ETA in the checkout process, Thursday 2 to 4. Right? Then you sort of like get a reconfirmation on this. Yes, it's in the warehouse now or in the hub or wherever, Thursday 2 to 4. And then in the distribution center, the day of delivery, things change dramatically. Because now you start planning your day, right? You heard before, okay, it's coming on Thursday 2 to 4. Now is Thursday. Now I need to organize my day. And now I would like to have more precise information. And this information needs to be real time and also updated real time, right? So this expectation grows over time. The users want this even more today. And this is what we're facing when it comes to the expectations. What do we have? We have exactly this, right? Before the day of delivery, we are providing a 2 to 3 hour time window, days before the delivery or per address, so to say. And then it a little bit varies to two different integrations, so to say. We are able to do a live prediction to the lowest level of granularity with 15 minutes time windows when we talk about either non-navigated tours or tours that are driving with any sort of navigation, but a better mile navigation. And then when it comes to better mile driven tours, we are looking at ultra precise ETAs, like down to 5 minutes. The tracking experience starts a little bit earlier, ends a little bit later because we have this really nice precision, and we are able to offer on-the-fly redirects also. So we have sort of like clustered this into 3 different products. We call them predictive ETAs, or in short, pre-ETA. Then we have our last mile tracking, again, where the users are not using any sort of like better mile driving navigation. And then we have an orchestrated tracking, where this seamlessly comes together, right? Where seamlessly the tracking experience and the driver navigation sort of like shake their hands so that the driver and the consignee have the best and the most efficient experience also. So now a little bit, how do we do this? And now we start with the predictive ETAs, which, if it works like extremely well, and if the carriers and the retailers are also working together, we are able to show those pre-ETAs already in the checkout process. So this is something where we really aim for, because if you, as a retailer, have a predictive ETA or like an ETA in your checkout process, like you maybe know from Amazon, I think this can drive conversion, and this is where we're aiming for. So how does pre-ETA work? This is relatively simple. It's not simple, but it's relatively simple, where we use or we leverage historical delivery data, convert this into geospatial areas, and then apply different coverage models to exactly achieve this, depending on the address and on the area where we are, right? And then we really have or can have this outcome here that we can, in the checkout process, state, hey, your parcel will arrive likely on a Friday, this Friday between 10:15 and 11:45, as an example. So this is already a relatively simple machine learning model. It's like being updated automatically. It is using always the latest information and so on. Last mile tracking is a bit more complicated. Now we are doing this live. As said before, right? Predictive ETA is based on historical data. Now last mile tracking, as well as orchestrated tracking, is based on live data. And as you may know, it is a bit more complicated when it comes to parcel deliveries. Like an Uber delivery or like an Uber pickup is relatively easy. You order your Uber, you may have some sort of like preparation time with the Uber driver, driving time, done. So the ETA for this one job is relatively easy. But a parcel driver delivering up to 200 parcels is much more complicated. We have a sequence, maybe followed by the drivers, maybe not followed by the drivers. Do we even know the sequence? Everything is a little bit unclear, right? And then you have so many waypoints, and the service times in between those waypoints. It is very hard to predict an ETA that lays at the very end of this sequence. Even the first waypoints are relatively hard to predict. And here now we have like actual machine learning models and AI models in place, and indeed 2. So it does not even matter if it's a navigated tour or an offline tour. For us, this doesn't play a big role. It's a bit easier with the navigated tours, but even tours driven with pen and paper, we are able to predict an ETA live during the tour. And we do this with 2 predictions, as I said. We're going to predict the sequence live, like during the day. And then on top of that, we predict certain ETA time windows. So the sequence already helps us, but it's a bit unclear. So if the sequence prediction is working when it comes to the time windows, and now our ETA predictions, which is the most complicated one, comes into place. And we have a couple of models here. One aiming for like ultra precision, like where we have a very strong confidence that the sequence prediction is really nice. We predict time windows ultra precise, giving us a really, really nice and sufficient tracking experience. Or more moderate, let's say we would like to play a bit more safely. Still very good, just not as precise. And when it comes to the orchestrated tracking, I said it before, right? Now this is the combination of better mile route and tracking. So we have a longer lifespan of the tracking, and especially at the end, we can aim those last 2 minutes of the journey to guarantee basically this perfect handover. This is what you want if you receive your iPhone. You really want to be ready to open the door the moment you see on the screen that your delivery driver is approaching you. And this is what we call orchestrating. orchestrated tracking. And this is, as I said, the handshake between driver and consignee. So our AI-powered ETA windows are the basis for the tracking. But now on top of that, we are giving those efficient alternatives to the user, such as any sort of customization. So for example, your parcel shop, imagine you're working late, you want to receive your iPhone in person, you cannot make it, you have to stay longer in the office, but on the way home, you know you're passing your parcel shop anyways, so I'm doing the redirect last minute even to the parcel shop, and then of course the driver gets this notification immediately and is able to fulfill this wish also last minute. And this is great for both, actually. So it's great for the consumers because they have full control, full visibility, and the drivers don't have to go to a waypoint that is basically already a failed waypoint because the consumer is just not there. Instead, we consolidate those waypoints that would otherwise be like empty, like a miss delivery or unsuccessful delivery, and now, consolidate this into parcel shop deliveries where the driver would go anyways. So it's not a future for us, it's happening today, and with that, I'm already done.
Adrian, thanks so much for giving this dive into the actual, another case of actual implementation. Do we have any questions here from the room? No? Yeah, there we go.
Sorry. Hi. I love the concept of precise ETAs, predictive ETA planning, but living in Berlin, I don't see it in practice. I mean, my wife buys a lot of stuff, so I have a lot of data points. Mm-hmm. Amazon, DHL, UPS, Hermes, Zalando. You have to be at home all day. There is no such thing as precise ETA. No one offers it. And these guys are the marquee customers, marquee players in the industry. Arguably, no. Definitively with the biggest investments in these technologies. And if they can't manage it, that means two hypotheses. One, the technology is not working, or two, I don't know, you tell me.
Luckily, it is working. We have millions of users with very high success rates. We have very high customer satisfactions. We have rolled this out with 25,000 navigated or non-navigated tours across the globe. It is not a concept anymore, not at all. We rolled this out in many, many places. Maybe not with your carriers.
Look, maybe I can connect to your question and forward it to you. What's behind your question is there's technology, and why does it actually fail, right? Because as you mentioned, it's many carriers invest a lot of money in it and still often fail. Adrian, passing on this question to you, why would this fail?
I mean, there's also, of course, situations where this fails. This is not so much with the technology. This is mostly the human factor. The human factor quite often is just not so, like, especially if you consider like navigated tours, where we trust the navigated tool or the navigation tool, and then the driver decides to do just the opposite. Then it's hard for us to do that.
So we're screwed by reality. That's actually often the case. And I mean, you can observe this across most of the carriers. I mean, probably every one of you have experienced an Amazon live tracking that just shuts off, and then says, I will arrive until the end of the day. This is actually when, for example, they detect that the driver left the sequence and they just don't know anymore, right? But that's like a phenomenon that we see across all carriers. Are there any more questions here from on-site? Gero.
Tell me, the orchestrated tracking, is this coming now with this Uber style of transparency where you see the car moving in your direction? So that's, I think, many people are waiting for, right?
Yes, yes. We are definitely moving exactly into this direction. We're getting our minutes, like our ETA bound ranges, much smaller now when it comes to the live position of the vehicle. If there are no legal constraints, which we quite often have, we are able to show that. We're having moving pieces on the map. Yes, we're getting there, definitely.
How would you then deal with the human factor?
Well, we try to understand beforehand if we want to offer this in the first place. So if we have the not the feeling, but if we have the data that supports us that probably not a good experience, then we rather shut it out before offering something wrong. One of our credos in this product is rather no information before any wrong information. A tracking product that delivers wrong information is probably the worst you can imagine, and everybody, I guess, have experienced this before.
Mm-hmm. Any questions here from the room? Yeah, one more in the back. Last question.
So you mentioned a little bit about the model, and you said it's a bit complicated. Can you give us an overview how you train the model?
Yeah.
And
we
how the data look like? So
we train the model with the data that we need to train it with. So no, of course, if we want to do ETA predictions, we're going to use former ETAs and when did the parcel actually arrive to make this to create this machine learning as an example for the ETA prediction. And we're going to update this, add features to the models constantly. This is like a iterative process that we started like 2.5 years ago, and we haven't. There's still so much opportunities to go with this. I don't want to go into details for a couple of reasons, but yes, we trained like we are. Maybe one interesting fact is that the model is learning during the day how it's performing. So it's understanding the success rates during the day of the delivery tour. Is it matching or not? And then it's adjusting itself during the day, sort of like live. So that is really, really cool to see, I have to say.
Okay, Adrian, before you tell even more, I will end this conversation. No, I'm kidding. Thanks very much for your presentation, giving us another deep dive into the actual application of AI. We'll see you later at the panel. And I'm now switching over remotely to Steffen Ochsenreiter, Digital Lead of Logistics Service Operations at Swiss Post. Steffen, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hope you can hear me too.
Yes, great. Please give Steffen a warm applause.
Thanks a lot. I really wish I would be there, but couldn't make it, unfortunately. So yeah, I've been asked to speak a little bit about everyday AI, and I think the other two speakers before me, like Ravi and Brody, they really brought it to the point. Like Brody was saying, the business case is missing a lot of the AI cases, and that is definitely true for a lot of people in the industry. And Ravi showing some groundbreaking things. That is also the area that we're investigating. But today we'll be focusing on everyday AI. And to give you a little bit of context, what that means at Swiss Post is we basically have identified in our data and AI strategy for the next 3 years, 3 different AI cases, basically. So that will be everyday AI, things that people use every day, which augments them, supports them, helps them out in their daily jobs. Then we got process AI. This is something where like the Better Mile solution, for example, would fit in, which supports and augments the process itself. And then we got AI game changers. So that is more something like the computer vision area where Ravi would be talking about. And this really transforms the business. But again, comes back to what Prodi was saying before, this really needs a business case. Now, everyone is looking for those AI game changers, and that is definitely the things that a lot of people are talking about, which are fancy. And I admit, I'm also caught by that. So we also do stuff like this. But to go down this road, you definitely need to start, in our opinion, at everyday AI. You need to educate the people. You need to have the people on board so they understand what AI is, so they can actually grow from everyday AI to process AI and ultimately identify AI game changers. So that's very important for us, and that's why we put it in our strategy. The goal that we have with it is that by 2028, everyone in Swiss Post that is working somehow in the office, somewhere around, can confidently use AI with the daily work. And the real idea is here that people improve their work quality, their productivity, their efficiency, but at the same time also build trust and satisfaction to AI. I mean, everyone knows how it is if you're now see the latest shiny ChatGPT things that are around. You try them out, they work in a certain set very well, but as soon as you try to adopt them to the business, more or less they fail most likely, and that does not build a lot of trust or satisfaction. We started with that about 2 years ago when we introduced Copilot, and obviously we're using Copilot into our Swiss Post workforce. And the subjective perception of it was that Copilot that is supporting me in my daily tasks was actually very good. So a 3.5 out of 5 in Swiss terms is actually a very good score. So not everyone understands it, but to give you some reference, that is actually the perfect score in Swiss terms. So everyone was liking it. So everyone that was having a Copilot license really wanted to work with it. But then when we dig deeper into the figures, we saw that a lot of the people that are working with it only use Teams, and mainly for summarizing calls, looking up information, writing emails with Outlook. And as you can see, gradually drops down with the usage, especially for Excel, which admittedly at the beginning of Copilot was not the best solution that Microsoft brought out. Interestingly, back in those days, we had around 2,600 licenses, which is around 1%, 0.5% of all Swiss Post employees. But then we also realized that area that I'm responsible for, logistics service operations, like the core business of Swiss Post, where 25,000 people are working, there's only 100 licenses being active and actively be used. So we said, okay, well, that's certainly not the good situation. So we definitely need more usage when it comes to that. And that basically brought us then to our AI strategy. And again, I can just quote Brody here. So you need to find where you can apply the dynamite. I really like this reference. And to become an AI-ready organization, to actually use AI in your everyday jobs and everyday tasks, you need to have AI-ready people and AI-ready tools. Now, tools you will get, there's no doubt about that. There will be tons of tools around. You need to make sure to find the right tools that work for you, integrate them. But at the same time, you need to have people that can work with those tools. And one thing which is extremely important in our opinion is that not only do you have to have the tools, the organization and the ready people, but you also have to have a lot of governance and what we call digital ethics. We do have a digital ethics group that takes care of all sorts of AI implementation. I can just really recommend having that. This builds a lot of satisfaction and trust with the employees as well. And if you have all those puzzle pieces in place, then you will definitely work in a very augmented manner with AI. Because nowadays, what we see today is, well, we chat with AI. So we ask it, we get some feedback back. We do have agents here and there, but basically the majority is still that we chat with AI and we look for information, we look to get some data out of it, and that's it. And we envision the future that instead of you just chatting with it, you become an agent boss. So you will tell AI what to do, and AI will basically work this out for you. And how will this look like? So everyday AI, today even, and also midterm, and you don't have to read all the small fine print there. I will just go through. We can already augment people today. So think of Lucas. He's the team lead sorting at a parcel sorting center. And when he starts his shift in the morning at 7 a.m., first thing he does, he needs to get an overview of the current day. What is going to happen? What are the forecasts? What's the expected volume? And so on. This is something we can already today support by an agent by pulling all the data from the databases, presented in a nice little report, done with it. Today, he spends around 15 to 20 minutes to dig through Excel spreadsheets and put this all together. At 8:15, usually they will meet with the yard logistics head of operating tech and sorting. And again, they will just exchange information. And again, we can support this with AI agents, basically prepare all their schedules, prepare all their meeting minutes before, also even find some information about potential bottlenecks, point them out so they can discuss it better. And so basically day continues. And all of those stories that you can see in here, they are not too far-fetched. These are all things we could do today. And this would already help Lucas a lot because all those tasks that you see here are regular checks. They are not his core business in terms of what he actually needs to do, like leading people. This is all just augmenting his work. And we really see a future, and this is again not so long-term, where instead of him being supported by agents, Lucas will be like an AI supervisor for operation. Now, this again is a little bit further down the road, but we're already getting into this area. So instead of just having like one AI supporting him with the meeting notes, he, for example, has a specialized agent who does the scheduling for his sorting personnel. And in the morning, he says, well, we need some new schedules for the whole parcel center. And then the AI agents start their thing. So you would have a schedule for sorting, for yard, for maintenance, and so on. Basically put it all together, and then he can just verify the quality of it and then go with it. And also we can envision, and this is also something, again, not far-fetched, as you can see on the very right-hand side of that slide, is that if he has temporarily something that he needs to work on, for example, he has a temporary project, instead of having an AI agent on board all the times, he hires like an external AI agent for this specific task. And this is really something that we want to go in the next few years. But to go there, we need to start with everyday AI, understand the everyday process, and so on. And this is exactly how we start the journey now. So again, we integrated Copilot into the office work about 2 years ago. This was a very broad approach. So we basically introduced it. We trained a lot of people on it, but it was very generalistic. And now what we're doing is we are going through the individual task of each individual role that we have, and we start with understanding the everyday work. So we do things like, you've seen the slide before, like a day in a life of, in this case, Lucas. And then we go through this day in his life and see what can we do, what kind of data do we have, what kind of things could we automate, and then we identify process AI potential. So if there's something that we could automate, is there something that we can take out of this data? Not everything makes sense though. So we have to evaluate and prioritize. Again, comes back to what Brody was saying, you need to have a business case to do so. And some things are just not worth automating or putting into an AI agent, for example. But some things definitely are. And those are then being developed into a process AI feature together with an AI agent. So meaning Lucas will have in the end a tool that will help him supporting. He will ask, print me a schedule or something like that. The AI agent runs around, does his thing, goes through the process itself, and then he has his final solution. And when we start this with the individual person and then grow from there, then we really see that everyday AI will make an impact. And this is basically what we'll be doing for the next 3 to 5 years. Again, only focusing on everyday AI for now, in this case. The other things like process AI and game-changing AI, we're also doing at the same time. But to enable the personnel broadly, this is what we envision for ourselves as being like one of the best moves, actually. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Stefan. Very insightful. I very much I like the approach. Instead of, you also think about the silver bullet, but you basically give everyone a little gun in their hands and tell them not to misuse it and get the organization behind it. So that is true transformation and true change. Do we have any questions here from the room? Mm-hmm.
Hi, thanks. Very interesting. My question is related to the, let's say, business case for everyday AI, because what we see usually, it's more about enabling people and changing mindsets rather than having, what exactly on euros and cents you're getting out of it. Would you agree to that, or do we also try to really prove that the hard business case for everyday AI, and maybe where?
It's a very good question. It's actually a little bit of both, in our opinion. So one side of things is definitely that you want to augment people, you want people to use it, but at the same time, we also may have to make a financial judgment if a Copilot license is really worth it, right? So if a person is having a Copilot license for 35 Swiss francs per month, there needs to be a certain gain in his everyday job that it actually makes sense for him to get one. And this is the second part of the journey that we're doing. So we start now to identify the roles. We define what their daily jobs are. And then we define also based on this, what would be the potential savings in his daily jobs or daily tasks that he actually can achieve with the support of Copilot. And if this ROI is not there, then we really have to see, is it a crucial role or not? Is it something that we need him to empower, to enable, also upskill? But it could also be that for some people, it doesn't make sense a lot. When you think about last mile personnel, they rarely use Office. So Copilot might not be the perfect solution for them, right? So not saying we will be empowering all 25,000 people in logistics service operations, but the majority of the office workers, for sure. I hope this answers your question.
I would like to connect with to this question with a question from a remote joiner, from James. How do you see common fears and concerns about AI replacing jobs entirely, and how do you encounter them when training your employees?
That is a very good question. It is a tough job, though. So if you promote actively AI agents, of course, people are having fear. People see that this would be promoting job loss, of course. That's why I mentioned before, you definitely need to have a digital ethics board to exactly do this. So AI should not be introduced with the goal to replace people. This should not be the first goal why you introduce AI to your workforce. The first goal would be to make them fit for the future, because there is no way around it. And the second goal would be definitely to make them more efficient in the first place. There will obviously be some switches in jobs, 100%. There will be personnel that will be more efficient, so you might need less people. I don't know. We will see what the future brings. But as we've seen with all major industrial revolutions, there will be some side to upskill upskill people and utilize their workforce in a better way. And then we'll have to see where this goes. But again, it should not be introduced to replace people in the first place, because then you have a very hard time and you will have absolutely no acceptance.
Thank you. Any other questions here from on-site? Also connect to Brody. Please give Stefan a warm applause. Thanks for the presentation. Ravi, Adrian. I'm starting with you guys, because you presented the actual deepest insight into applications. What did you learn from each other today?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. That I think last mile is an opportunity, is a kind of a gold mine to work with. I think everyone is doing their part, and we just want to continue the same. And as Brody said, 60% of the cost runs there, so a place to look for.
Ask in your direction, Brody and Stefan. Anything that you learned today that you want to emphasize?
I think I can just not stress this enough what Brody was saying. Like, AI is great, AI is cool. You need to find a business case. With all technology, with all things that come to market, if there's no business case and you don't do it properly, it will die in a POC or POT phase very early. And one thing that we realized what really helps there is whatever you want to do, go with the business first, go with the business analysis. Does it make sense? And then you can go and grow from there, because there will be a tool out there that will support you.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to mention, Brody?
I really liked the construct that Stefan used of kind of everyday AI and then process change and then game changers. And it almost feels like a progression, right? As your AI literacy and capability improves, then you can move it into core operations. And as you do that, you're going to find some things that potentially are material movers. That feels like a great evolution of AI capability in an organization as you improve the literacy across the board.
Stefan, maybe ask in your direction. I mean, you presented a very general approach, like getting people on board with the help of Copilot, and also with the hope to get more out of it, right? Not only productivity on the spot, but also kind of start a transformation, let people rethink of how they could also use it in other aspects to eventually come up with, let's call it silver bullet or core operations or any other application. So what's your bet? When will we be there? When will you present to us this AI application that made such a tremendous operational change that in terms of ROI, in terms of application, that it is a true game changer?
I could present you already today those kind of applications. So we do have already, and Ravi knows this as well, so we've been in touch quite often. And we do have game-changing AI already implemented as well, and process AI as well. And That was historically. So we already had people inside of the process that really understood what could be capable if we have the data properly. And so we could implement game-changing AI business cases there 100%. But one thing that we were lacking in my opinion, was that we were not looking at empowering the everyday workforce. And that's why we have now this approach in going like all three layers. Not meaning, and as Brody said, this is an evolution, of course, because you want to have everyone on board, but it's not saying that we start with everyday AI and then hopefully we grow to game change. We actually attack all three pillars.
Mm-hmm. Let's move the topic a little bit and switch over to the ROI aspect of AI. And before talking about the return, I want to talk a little bit about the cost. I'll ask a question and for a true and honest answer. Who of you four keynote speakers has made the experience that you had a great case, but then the cost just exploded? Adrian. How about you, Ravi?
I think we started with some idea of a cost. It was spiraling, but we could still control it. I think that's where we have had a maturity of how do we structure it and manage it better. I think it comes with experience. So we were able to kind of bring it under control.
How about you, Adrian?
Yeah, we became a bit hungry and a bit when it comes to data consumption, and that was it was just a test, a relatively small scale test. And we consumed and processed so much data that it turned out to be rather expensive for a test.
So a wrong click of a button of an engineer can create quite a bill. I mean, Brody, you also mentioned it as one of the major concerns, right, from your survey. Like the people you talk with, executive management and in application. Is this also like not only a survey result, but a true experience from people that they just end up with a big bill, but not with a comparatively comparable value out of it?
I think in particular, as you look at kind of using AI broadly within the organization, we're Escher is a technology company, right? So we're Copilot, Cursor, putting in the developer's hands. One of the things that we're finding is that there is value creation occurring. They're getting productivity and incremental ability out of these tools, but at a corporate level, at the company level, we're not. And what it probably means is that the tools are making the developer 30% faster, and that means they walk their dog a little longer or take a nap during the day or whatever. I don't know where the time goes, but as they're able to do their job faster and better, we're working still to pull that through into kind of true company ROI. So I think there's more to come on that. I think this is a broad problem within AI implementations. Is how do you get it to the point where you can start to harvest out of the gains that are occurring?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I mean, jumping on the revenue side or on the actual value that you generate. I mean, at least that's my observation. Just because you create value, you do not necessarily materialize into a P&L, right? So any experiences from your side, talking for Steffen, for example? I mean, you introduced Copilot, but it's very tough to measure, like what the actual effect is. You probably do not immediately feel, you immediately feel the cost, right? But not the value. Probably some other fields of experience. How do you deal with that? And also, what does this mean for changing your cost models or your even pricing? So how does this already today impact your value chain?
Wow, these are two tough questions. So first off, like measuring the impact of Copilot is extremely hard. I mean, the figures that Microsoft is pulling out, like 30% more efficiency and whatnot, and it comes back to what Brody was saying, like you give people more freedom, which is fine. They will walk their dog longer, they will stay more at the coffee corner, which is fine as well. Ultimately, if the job is done and if it's in a better quality, that is already a great outcome. But these things are extremely hard to measure in terms of a profit net. loss statement. So this is extremely hard. The ones that we see more is the real hard business case where you see, okay, if you introduce AI there, we save so much more time on loading, we can produce better, we can have more parcels stacked and so on, like the things that Ravi was showing. These are way easier to calculate. But one thing that really sticks out there is that a lot of people are only looking at the final cost of the implementation of the system. So basically saying, okay, if I have implemented that model, I need this AWS server and whatnot on top, and that's what the cost is. And what we realize is what a lot of people are underestimating is the CapEx phase, where it's actually important to make sure that you have the right data. And that is the biggest cost of AI. Is not the implementation part. It's definitely, do you have the data? Do you have it properly structured? Do you have it available? And this really kills the majority of the use cases. And I think I didn't answer your second question, by the way.
No, I think just to add and correcting the previous question in this, I think it's all about what is nice to have and what is a must have. I think that's the differentiation with AI, because everyone wants something. But I think differentiating what is nice to have and must have is really important. I can give you an example of what we might have done in our context. People might say, I want real time. As an example, as you say, real time ETA or real time data. What we started asking them is it real time or near real time? Are you good enough with me giving you every 5 seconds versus giving you every second? Because he looks at it every 5 seconds. So in a way, I could nudge him to say, I'll give you near real time. Another way to say is, if he looks at the report 8 in the morning, do you want it to be running real time? Or could I do a bad job? So I think it's also the messaging. How do we structure the business to understand what we can get versus what we can give? Because they would want everything very good, but we might have to work with them, make them understand what is the cost impact versus what is the business value we could generate.
Ravi, from a PostNord perspective, I mean, I raised this question before, build or buy, right? You experimented with tools where you actually, like the visual inspection. I don't know the details, but probably you built a chunk of the service yourself. Another one you kind of bought as a service. You might have used other tools that you completely buy, others that you completely build and build your own like prediction pipelines or even AI agents. So where would you, like for PostNord, from your experience, draw the line? This is where you should invest and completely own this thing. And when would you rather buy?
Definitely. If it's something proprietary, for sure it would be a build, but something which is off the shelf, I think the first preference would be to buy, because you can experiment and decide instead of building up a whole network or a team around it. So I think within PostNord, we have been pursuing, first preference would be to buy if something is available, which could be easily initiated, tried and tested. If that is proprietary, something core to our business, which we don't want really to come out, then it would be a build. But first would be, if everything is available, buy.
Yeah. Brody, forwarding the question to you. I mean, you also mentioned you were a strong defender of actually build, but I mean, you know the industry very, very well, especially the postal industry, and you know those companies. Are you really confident that they are able to build?
So I like the way Ravi structured it, which is obviously it's going to be buy for things like IT capabilities or even some of the call center stuff. But when you really get to the core of operations, what you're trying to do with artificial intelligence in these kind of the process or game changer, if you use Stefan's construct, you're trying to create a differentiation. And the two ways you can do that is build something that no one else has, or orchestrate capabilities together in ways that no one else is doing it. Of the two of those, the tools to orchestrate in the core of the operations, from what I'm seeing to date, are just not there with the right level of capability, and so it's going to have to come from experimentation and build. But to your point, Simon, of kind of do these organizations have the capability? The research we've done would say 70% would say they're struggling to get those skills. They're struggling to get those people. And so it may end up that they end up with buy simply because they're going to be unable to acquire the capability.
Stefan, passing over the question to you. I mean, you work for Swiss Post, excellent company. and also, Swiss alike productive. But it's a huge organization, right? And also, you talked about introduction of your organizational transformation towards AI, introducing Copilot and other tools to all employees. When I noted that correctly, until 2028, right?
Yep.
So I understand this from a big organization perspective. You need to provide the compliance. You need to scale. You need to build up a team. You need to educate people, all these things. Are you not overtaken by reality in this couple of years already? I mean, I have if my 80-year-old mom uses ChatGPT for gardening, right? So how can you wait until 2028 to introduce this? Are you not overtaken by reality of your own employees?
That's a good question. In fact, we do have a head start. I mean, this is the latest data and AI strategy that we have just now finalized and agreed on until 2028. But we actually started with the whole initiative in 2022. So we started with the first training of employees with a grant. We called it a Digital Champion Program back in 2021, where we trained all sorts of roles in all sorts of digital technologies. It was not only about AI itself, but also about IoT, how to work properly, process mining, and so on. So this was quite big, quite huge. And then when Copilot came up, this was like the second iteration of it, and then we started training people. And of course, now the next 3 years, they will be crucial because we'll have a lot of development in the AI space. There will be a lot of new tools. There will be a lot of new functionalities. And it's very hard to keep up with all the things. But if we don't start now, then I don't want to start in 2028. Then we definitely have an issue and we will be gardening because there's nothing else we can do back then. So yeah, it is hard. It is a lot. But at the same time, we also have to agreement from the board that we will be having the budget for training of all of those people.
Thanks. Just to close up this round, I very much like the metaphor of nitroglycerin and dynamite. Just like one short sentence from each of you guys. What's your bet? What will be the dynamite that we talk about in 1 or maybe 2 years? Starting with you, Adrian.
Well, what is the dynamite?
You would say you have it already in your hands.
Maybe. That's a tough one.
I give you a couple minutes to think. Ravi.
No, I think for us, as Rudy said, we are finding the right clay now. I think we have the nitroglycerides. I think we are finding the right clay and the form factor to make it really fast. I think it's all about don't wait, just act. I think that's what is going to happen with AI.
Brody, what would be your bet? What's the dynamite that we will talk about?
I think it'll be
for logistics.
Yeah, I think it'll be delivery personalization at lower cost than commodity. There's some interesting math around that, but I think we're headed to something far different than what we have today, and it'll change the cost profile materially.
Mm-hmm. What would be your bet, Stefan?
That is extremely hard. I'm with Andreas on that one. But I don't think I'll come up with a better idea in like 3 minutes. I think for us, one of the biggest bets that we have is definitely autonomous assets, because they are so much powered by AI, and we'll see crazy development there. So anything that drives itself, be it a robot, a dog, or whatever. And I think this will have some major impact as well in our parcel centers itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Adrian?
Yeah, I have one now. I think it's going to be load and volume balancing, because I feel like there's so much inefficiencies in transporting mass volumes of parcels and then sorting them and so on and so forth. If you tackle this in a smarter way, I think that's the silver bullet or the dynamite in the future.
I think that's beautiful. And also, it's like we all very much understand AI as like generative AI, in terms of you have like a black box and you chat with it and you get like a surprising thing that everyone can understand. but there we're getting really deep into logistics. We're getting really deep into data and numbers. It's not just throwing something into a black box and getting a very smart answer. You have to kind of co-design this answer on this path. And this is where also I would agree, this will be definitely one of the big challenges and fields that all of us will talk over the next couple of years probably. Yeah. At that point, I wanna make it a pause until the next last mile delivery meetup. I want to thank you, our speakers, very, very much for the insights, for sharing this exciting insights with us. I want to thank you, remote joiners at the computers at home. I want to thank you here on Sign and welcome you to the networking session that will just start out in a minute. Give you and all the speakers a warm applause. And please don't forget, sign up for the newsletter at bettermile.com to not miss the next last mile delivery meetup. If you want to participate as a speaker, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to have you contributing to this community. It is a community, and we want to foster it. Thanks very much for coming. And now, cheers, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Last Mile Delivery Meetup. We hope you enjoyed the exclusive insights and discussions shared during this podcast. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Better Mile newsletter. The link is in our bio. Thanks for listening.